Thank you for checking out crypto.chartguys.com, the source for technical analysis in the cryptocurrency world. We are proud to announce our own crypto alert system designed to give you the most critical technical trading information possible no matter where you are. Keep your eyes on the market with mobile or email alerts for MACD crosses, RSI levels, and even inside bar alerts for dozens of coins across multiple exchanges. New features and proprietary ChartGuys indicators are already in development. Our alert system is very easy to customize and utilize, so don't hesitate to sign up for the most effective crypto trading tool on the market at crypto.chartguys.com. Hello crypto friends, hope you didn't miss me too much yesterday. I've been doing some traveling. I got my mobile setup going, so things are a little bit different. I don't have my monitor to work with right now, but certainly still able to chart things. So we've had some clear bear breaks. Congrats to the bears. There's been some pretty easy plays. I will point out what those easy plays are. Sometimes it's harder for people to think in the opposite direction of the standard natural wanting things to go up. Going to be adding to the crypto course a new module update sometime in the next 4 weeks or so. And one of the sections is playing bearish. Another one is comparing crypto to stocks. Another one is recognizing trend changes. So what we have now on Bitcoin, I'm going to do a little bit of a recap on, if you've been watching these videos the last few weeks, you've been noting these, but just to summarize what's been going on. So we had the rejection from the high of the bounce, a little bit of a double top, just a lower high, FUD hit. The fact that we broke this support level was very bearish. I expected an equilibrium pattern. The FUD momentum drove it right down and broke that level. As soon as that level breaks, we go from a solid bounce to a lower high and a lower low. That changes the trend on the bounce. That shifts the momentum significantly towards the bears. From there, because of the oversold conditions on the 4-hour and shorter term timeframes, we were looking for a bounce and a lower high to be set. We were looking for a lower high to be set because we broke the higher low pattern. This was a very weak lower high. Just visually speaking, I was looking in the mid 10,000 range. Again, that doesn't mean I'm placing bets to be looking to the $10,000 range. That just means that I'm saying visually, okay, that's a potential target. Now we need the bulls to follow through and give us the signals on the shorter term timeframes that that's where we are headed. As soon as we rejected from the exponential resistance, which I currently don't have on this chart, voila, look at that magic. So there they are. We rejected from them on the daily time frame. That wasn't, a big red flag in itself, but when you look at the 4-hour time frame and see the reaction to that rejection, this candlestick is the red flag. Huge candlestick, huge volume, and it pulled back very significantly. So as soon as that candlestick follows through, the odds instantly shift, and we look at this and say, man, that might be a daily bear flag because of that significant pullback from the first rejection from these daily exponential resistances. Then we had a daily inside bar form yesterday. We were in a no trade zone on the 4-hour time frame. We just sat pretty stagnant, and I drew, not sure if it was this support line or this support line. Either way, we had a no trade zone in this channel. Just because it's sideways trading, you're not going to see gains in either direction. We made the clear bear break this morning, and the daily time frame gave us an inside bar bear break. That occurred at 8,855. If you went bearish on the inside bar bear break, because again, it's all about the odds shifting. What are the odds that it's a bear flag? When we reject from that 4-hour time frame and see that 4-hour big candlestick, the odds shift. Okay, a bear flag on the daily is more likely. You break that daily inside bar like we did this morning, then the odds of the daily inside bar are very likely, the odds of the daily bear flag are very likely. And just to go over it very briefly, a bear flag is when you have an all-out dump and then a weak bounce attempt where you can draw a parallel channel of support and resistance. This is going to be a very rough example, but this is your parallel support and resistance line, a weak bounce attempt compared to the all-out dump, and it's a continuation pattern which favors the bears to the downside. So as soon as we broke the low down at 8,370, that confirmed the bear flag. And where we stand now, there's a lack of support in this area. The next support level I'm looking at is down at 7,851, of course, aside from 8,000 psychological. The daily RSI is approaching oversold, and for bounce players like me, we're, like I said in a Twitter post, we're salivating waiting for this. You give me a daily oversold RSI and a 4-hour RSI down in the low 20s, I'm a happy man. So that's what I'm patiently waiting for. Every day I keep saying I am not making any bullish trades unless the hourly, the 15-minute, and the 5-minute RSI are all oversold. Because of the significance of this daily bear break, clear bear break, the 4-hour time frame now needs to be oversold for me to be interested. So here we are with the 4-hour RSI down at 32. I am very patient here. And I really like this comfortable position because number one, I'm all cash. And number two is that when we see the bounce play out, essentially it's we try and scale in. We want the trade to come to us. So it's not like a bounce starts playing out and I'm rushing to get in saying I don't want to miss it, because the bounces that we're seeing are very slow, very drawn out, and lead to lower lows. There's nothing telling me I better get in. I'm going to miss this bounce. If the bounce goes on without me and my targets are not hit and the trade does not come to me, I lose $0. The only thing I miss is potential profit. I have no FOMO in this situation because we are not going to see the price run away from us. It's not like we're going to bounce and then next thing we know we're at 10,000. We are in a downtrend and the bounces are going to be short-lived and they are going to see lower highs. Any bounce on this daily time frame that's under 9,890 is just another lower high. So don't let that FOMO kick in. Always be reminding yourself, let the trade come to you. You're in control. You're the boss here. The trade has to come to you. And if it doesn't, you're not going to change your game plan in the heat of the moment and try and, rush into things. I would gladly watch the bounce leave me and see a 5% bounce and say, I missed that one, didn't hit my targets, and then just wait for the next setup. That's the way that it works in terms of keeping the odds in your favor and making sure you're comfortable in the trade. The number one way that people are going to lose money playing bullish right now is scaling into these trades too early trying to play this bounce. So my criteria has shifted now. I want 4-hour, hourly, 15-minute, and 5-minute all oversold. And I want to see some, fear push the price down and see some panic. The daily RSI, let's see. So the 4-hour RSI right now being this low. If this 4-hour RSI heading into this weekend over the next 2 days drops down into the low 20s, this daily RSI, and I'm again just going visually speaking, we break 8,000. I'd say this daily RSI is going to be right at about 30. Last time we bounced, the RSI dropped down. When it was at the low of the candlestick, it was in the low 20s. So daily RSI can absolutely dip well below 30, but it's going to be right about 30 if this 4-hour RSI gets down into the low 20s. And then looking back historically, this 4-hour RSI has dropped down into the low 20s twice recently. So again, just hitting 30 doesn't mean, okay, time to get in. That means, okay, time to establish your game plan, time to start setting some bid orders potentially. So on this last little bounce, I was placing bid orders on LTC because Bitcoin had a 15-minute RSI down in the low 20s. The hourly RSI was getting oversold in the mid 20s. And I was saying, all right, I'm going to try and make an entry here for a flip. And so what I did is placed my bids, and we'll go to the full analysis here on Litecoin in just a moment. But I placed my bids on Litecoin down in my first bid was 161.15, then 159.15, and then scaling on down. And once this bounce started playing out, yeah, I missed a few dollars to the upside. It could have been a nice flip, but it didn't fill. I didn't chase it, and I'm just patiently waiting. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to readjust my bids, because what this bounce has done is it's cooled off the shorter term RSIs. 15-minute RSI is no longer oversold. Hourly RSI is no longer oversold. We're just above 30. So that tells me that if we were going to head back down, and hit 161.15, we're going to drop a lot lower than 161.15 because we're going to get a clear lower low. So I pulled that bid, and I'm keeping some bids in the upper 150s, but I'm pulling that bid and then I'm going to move it further down, because when the RSI levels cool off, it's not the same scenario as when I was initially placing the bids looking for a fill. Because again, just to reiterate, the 15-minute time frame was oversold. The hourly was oversold. That's no longer the case right now. So I don't want to keep the same bids. I have to position and move things around. So Bitcoin, just to cap it off, trying to bounce. The 15-minute time frames going nowhere unless we see a break of the lower highs. Resistance is 836.63. Even if we break the lower highs, looks like we're going to make an attempt here soon. Again, I have no interest in making an entry here personally. I'm waiting for that 4-hour RSI because we made that clear bear daily break. I think a 4-hour RSI hitting 30 and below is more likely than not. Also, a flush under 8,000 psychological would be nice for some climax and some panic. So checking in on Litecoin on the daily time frame. And again, I just want to highlight how clear these bear plays are, and hopefully the course edition, which again, we're just going to add for free to people that already have the course. Hopefully it's going to shed a lot of light here, because there have been some easy setups, and I'm sitting here saying, man, come on, GDAX, give me some margin. But this equilibrium pattern on Litecoin was just so clear. Look at how tight this got. And while it was happening, we were saying the whole time, when this pattern breaks, it is going to dictate momentum for potentially weeks out. And that's because it took weeks to develop. So the clear bear break, and there could have been two. It could have been 205.20, or you could have been more picky and wait for 200. Let's say you were more picky and cautious. You waited for 200. Here we are. You probably would have covered on this first dump. But that first dump went down to 160. That's a 20% drop in 1, 2, 3, 4 days. You could have made half of that move and made a solid 10% on that short. And here we are now down testing the lows. Litecoin is still holding up better than any of the big three because of that light pay momentum. This weekly chart is still setting up better. Speaking of weekly charts, just to touch on the Bitcoin weekly chart, there's potential that this is a bear flag on the Bitcoin weekly chart. But the bounce was significant enough that I would be very surprised to just see us reject and then see a lower low. We would need some significant FUD for that to happen, in my opinion. I will be looking for a higher low compared to 5873, and I'll be looking for a potential weekly equilibrium to play out, and I would love that weekly equilibrium to play out because it would give us, like I said, a clear path, and because it's on the weekly time frame, it would be some clarity for a month plus, a couple months out when we get that break. Remember when Ethereum had a weekly equilibrium that broke bullish, and it gave us a huge move that played out over many weeks. So I do anticipate, unless some FUD comes out, a higher low on this weekly time frame for Bitcoin. And you look at the weekly time frame for Litecoin, still very clearly the lead bull. And again, we have a ton of space before we would see a bear break under 100. We currently are 65% above that low. So again, a higher low is much more likely than not, because the daily RSI is already so close to oversold. Well, not as much as Bitcoin, but it would be if we were to drop down into the 130 range. So where we stand on Litecoin. Clear bear break, not as clear as Bitcoin, no inside bar to go off of, but obviously if you look at the 4-hour time frame, it's been just lower highs and lower lows, and Litecoin actually gave the first bear break on the 4-hour time frame out of Ethereum and Bitcoin as well. So we had our low, high, higher low, lower high. This was the first bear break at 184.25, losing the 4-hour higher low. The clear bear break was here at 172.30. We just barely broke it, bulls holding on, and then a dump down. So it was a little bit of an early signal. And then, of course, once Bitcoin followed through, it pushed that correlation down, and Litecoin followed along with it. So it's a clear downtrend right now. Hourly RSI, again, I'm not paying as much attention to the individual names like Litecoin and Ethereum. I'm not paying attention to their RSI. What matters for me is Bitcoin's RSI. That's who I'm basing all of my trading decisions off of. And I will be looking for a Litecoin bounce, which has historically given better percentage gains on the initial bounce, which is why I'm looking for Litecoin. But the setup is different just in terms of these RSI levels. 4-hour RSI is more over, or right about where Bitcoin is, maybe a little bit lower. Hourly RSI no longer oversold. So again, I'm patient because if we drop down and see another lower low, we're going to go into the mid 150s at least. So I'm moving my bids in case that happens. And I want to see some fear out there. So that's where we stand right now. 15-minute time frame, trying to break. It actually did break bullish. We broke the lower highs on Litecoin. Let's see if Bitcoin has done that yet, and it has not. So again, Litecoin, little instances where it is showing that it's more bullish than Bitcoin overall. Ethereum. So Ethereum was a very, very, very clear break on the 4-hour time frame. But look at the daily inside bar, bear break at 679.78, and at this point, you're up 10% in one day on that inside bar bear break. 4-hour time frame, it does not get more clear than this. This is a good one to review if you struggle with equilibriums. Higher lows and lower highs. The clear bear break with multiple lows was down here. We had lows at 678, a double bottom, 680. So 3 levels right there. As soon as that breaks, look at the waterfall and all bear volume. And the reason is because it is a very clear pattern, and the vast majority of traders out there are acting on it. The bulls are taking their loss or their profit and they're exiting, and the bears are jumping in on it. It's magnifying the move to the downside because both sides are going in the same direction with this very clear signal. The more clear a signal, the more significant the follow through will be because more people are going to act on it. So the clear break at 678, next thing you know, 10 hours later, 12 hours later, we're down at 612. So that is a 10% drop. Bears are having it easy right now, and Ethereum is beat up. 4-hour RSI already oversold. Daily RSI is right about to be oversold, and we're down at the low. 555.66 is the low of this dump. Weekly time frame, much weaker on Ethereum. So we could see Ethereum lose this support level of 55.66, 555.66, and have Bitcoin and Litecoin still hold their weekly high or low. The way that we're set up and the way that we're correlated, that is certainly a possibility. So 15-minute time frame on Ethereum, still weak. Bears still in control overall. I'm not playing Ethereum on any bounce at this point. Litecoin bounces are better. Hourly RSI dropped down to 20. But again, it's important to be using Bitcoin's RSI levels regardless of what these individual RSIs are. It definitely is worth taking into account. If this hourly RSI got down to 12 or so, and Bitcoin's hourly RSI was only at 28, then I would definitely make note of that. But overall, Bitcoin is the big daddy here that we are making our decisions based off of. So that's where we stand overall. And the bears have absolute control. That's not going to change anytime soon. The first signal of this changing will be an hourly higher low and higher high. And we don't even have an hourly bounce to set a lower high yet. So think of how long it would take to play out to get an hourly lower high, higher low, and then higher high. We're talking 6 to 8 hours at a bare minimum, in my opinion, before that would follow through. So the bears are in complete control. The bears are taking profit from oversold conditions, which is why we're seeing weak bounce attempts. These weak bounce attempts lead to bear flags, just like on that daily time frame, a weak bounce and continuation when the bears get comfortable re-entering once the RSI levels have cooled off. As long as we see these slow, drawn-out bounce attempts on the 15-minute time frame without any volume climaxes, without any fear, and climax pushes down, I am not in any rush to get in. I want to see a flush. I want to see a $400 drop on 1 hour candlestick, and I want to see a V-shaped recovery to give us really quick bull gains in a short amount of time. And of course, we're going to be looking to lock in those gains for the bulls sooner rather than later, because we are certainly fighting the trend. And when you're going with the trend, you can let those trades ride longer. And when you're going against the trend, you want to lock them in sooner. So I appreciate you all watching. Racking my brain right now because I'm sure I had other points to make. But that's a pretty good one for this video, and I will see you all tomorrow. Continue to do good things. Thanks again.